When two people are truly meant for each other, these 7 things always happen. Psychology tricks. Love is not found by chance. It is recognized by the soul. Pause for a moment. Let your mind slow down. The fact that you're here, reading this right now, is not random. Somewhere inside you, there is a person who keeps resurfacing in your thoughts. You don't summon them. You don't plan it. They simply arrive quietly, naturally, persistently, as you move through your day, as you sit alone in stillness, as the night falls and the world drifts into sleep. Your mind keeps circling back to them, and at some point, you begin to ask yourself questions that feel heavier than logic. Why this person? Why now? Why does their presence linger even in silence? Today is about something deeper than coincidence, something psychology rarely explains fully, yet life keeps proving true. When two people are genuinely meant to cross paths, life doesn't announce it with fireworks. There's no grand speech, no dramatic scene. Instead, the signs are subtle, almost invisible. They speak softly, they repeat, and they resonate in ways only maturity and lived experience can truly understand. When two souls are aligned, certain things always begin to happen, not by force, but by nature. Not chaos, not confusion, but quiet certainty. Take a slow breath in. Let your shoulders relax. Let the noise fall away. What follows isn't meant to be heard only with your ears, but felt with the part of you that already knows the truth. Because when two people are truly meant for each other, life leaves patterns behind. And those patterns never lie. First sign, the connection never weakens no matter how much time passes. When two people are truly meant for each other, the first unmistakable sign is this: the connection never weakens no matter how much time passes, no matter how far life pulls you apart, no matter how long the silence stretches, because real connection does not live in calendars or conversations. It lives in the nervous system, in memory, in the quiet places where the heart keeps what matters most. You must understand this clearly. Distance does not destroy what is real. Silence does not erase what is true. Time does not cancel what has been deeply recognized. You may stop talking. You may stop seeing each other. You may even convince yourself that you are moving on and doing the right thing. And yet, something subtle continues beneath the surface, an invisible thread that refuses to snap. This is where many psychology tricks fail to explain what the body already knows. Weeks or months can pass without contact. Then, without warning, their image crosses your mind. Your body reacts before logic has a chance to speak. Your chest tightens slightly. Warmth rises. A quiet pull settles in. This is not fantasy. This is not obsession. This is not unhealthy attachment. Don't label it that way. Be honest instead. Recognition feels different than longing. Female psychology and male psychology both respond to this kind of bond through sensation before thought, through emotion before explanation. You may forget the exact words they once said. You may lose track of dates and details, but you never forget how they made you feel. Emotional memory imprints deeper than verbal memory. That is psychology. That is biology. That is how to fall in love at a level that does not depend on proximity. When two people truly belong to each other, life often tests them through separation, not to punish them, but to reveal what is real. Superficial connections need constant reassurance to survive. They fade when attention fades. They collapse in silence. Real ones endure quietly, steadily, even when there is no communication at all. This endurance is not dramatic. It is calm. It simply exists, felt emotionally even when unseen physically, present even when absent. Deep down, both people sense it, even if neither says a word. Notice this carefully. Do not ignore it. Every sincere attempt to fully let them go seems to trigger a gentle resistance, not a force, not a command, just a subtle pull back toward awareness. Their name appears unexpectedly in conversation. You dream of them without trying. Songs, places, symbols quietly echo their presence. It can feel as if life itself is saying, pause. Something here is not finished. This is where psychology tricks help you understand rather than dismiss the experience. The mind looks for closure. The nervous system looks for truth. Truth does not rush. It waits. Don't panic. Don't overreact. Don't chase. But don't deny what you feel either. Be grounded. Be observant. Be honest. This kind of connection does not demand constant interaction. It demands integrity. It asks that you respect what exists without forcing it to perform. Many men between 35 to 70 learn this the hard way. After years of confusing intensity with meaning, after mistaking consistency for depth. In reality, the deepest bonds are often the quietest ones, the ones that survive without maintenance, the ones that do not need daily proof to remain alive. This is not just about romance, it is about recognition, about two people whose emotional patterns align so naturally that even absence cannot break the signal. When you understand this through psychology tricks instead of fear, everything changes. You stop questioning your sanity. You start trusting your perception. You stop labeling the connection. You start respecting it. Because how to fall in love is not about chasing or clinging. It is about allowing recognition to unfold without control, without pressure, without judgment. Remember this clearly. Real connection is not loud. It is consistent. It does not beg. It remains. It does not need constant confirmation. It simply exists. And when two people are truly meant for each other, honesty matters more than proximity. Presence matters more than performance. The connection survives not because it is fed every day, but because it is real, understood, and recognized at a level deeper than words, deeper than time, deeper than distance. Second sign, you inspire each other to change, even through difficulty. Second sign, you inspire each other to change, even when that change feels uncomfortable, inconvenient, and difficult to explain. This is the hardest truth to accept, especially for men who have lived long enough to value peace, stability, and predictability. When two people are truly meant for each other, they do not always bring ease. Sometimes they bring challenge, but never without purpose. That is the key distinction you must understand. This kind of connection does not arrive to soothe you or distract you. It arrives to shape you. It presses on places you thought were settled. It stirs emotions you assumed were handled. It activates hidden insecurities and exposes buried fears, not to embarrass you, but to bring them into the light where growth can happen. Don't mistake this discomfort for incompatibility. Be careful with that assumption. Sometimes the struggle itself is the signal. You may find yourself wondering why caring about this person feels so intense, why their words linger longer than expected, why moments with them feel heavier, deeper, harder to shake. That confusion is common. Real connection does not skim the surface. It goes straight to the core. Real love does not come just to entertain or validate your current version of yourself. Real love comes to grow you. That is why it can feel overwhelming. That is why it can hurt more than you anticipated. When someone truly belongs in your life, they awaken something dormant within you. You begin to analyze your patterns. You start noticing how you react under pressure. You see habits you've relied on for years suddenly stop working. Old coping mechanisms lose their power. Distractions fail. Avoidance becomes uncomfortable. That is not coincidence. That is transformation beginning. This is where many men hesitate. Growth through challenge is not glamorous. It doesn't look good on social media. It doesn't come with immediate rewards. But it is essential. A high-value man understands that growth rarely arrives wrapped in comfort. It often comes disguised as friction. Be honest with yourself here. You grow because of their presence. You become more self-aware, more grounded, more emotionally wise, even when there is distance, even when there is confusion, even when nothing feels resolved. That is not regression. That is progress unfolding slowly. Don't rush it. Don't fight it. Be present with it. Yes, this dynamic can create tension. It can create pauses. It can even create separation. But look closer before you label it failure. Growth that comes with difficulty is still growth, and growth that changes you at a fundamental level confirms the connection is not accidental. This is not about drama. This is not about chaos. This is about refinement. Masculine energy, when it is healthy, responds to challenge with responsibility, not avoidance. It asks, "What is this teaching me?" instead of, "How do I escape this feeling?" You must ask the better question. Why does this happen so often when two people are meant for each other? Because those kinds of souls often meet before they feel fully ready, not early by mistake, early by design. They don't come together to complete each other. They come together to prepare each other. That is an important shift in perspective. Completion is passive. Preparation is active. Preparation requires patience. It requires humility. It requires self-examination. And that process can feel lonely at times, even when connection exists. Sometimes separation becomes necessary, not as punishment, not as rejection, but as space. Space for healing, space for learning, space for personal evolution. Don't assume distance means the bond was false. Be careful with that conclusion. Often, distance is what allows lessons to take root. What is meant to grow cannot always do so under constant closeness. Some seeds need time underground before they surface stronger. That is not weakness. That is nature. The invisible connection remains during this time, quiet, steady, unbroken, because what is meant to return always comes back changed. Clearer, stronger, more aligned. A man who understands this does not beg. He does not chase. He does not collapse inward. He becomes more himself. That is what makes him magnetic. That is what allows him to attract women without forcing outcomes. Presence grows. Confidence deepens. Clarity sharpens. This is how masculine energy matures over time. Don't confuse patience with passivity. Be active in your growth. Be intentional with your choices. Be honest about your emotional patterns. A high-value man uses challenge as a mirror, not a weapon against himself. He understands that attraction is not built through perfection, but through authenticity and steadiness. When you learn to sit with discomfort without losing direction, you become someone who can attract women naturally, without manipulation, without performance. This sign is not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It is about becoming someone capable of sustaining real connection, someone capable of depth, someone capable of long-term emotional presence. That takes work, that takes courage, that takes maturity. And yes, it takes time. But the reward is not just the relationship. The reward is the man you become in the process. Remember this, comfort maintains who you are. Challenge expands who you can be. When two people are truly meant for each other, they don't arrive to keep each other the same. They arrive to invite growth, even through difficulty, especially through difficulty. That is the second sign. Don't ignore it. Be open to it. You must grow into what you are meant to hold. If this message speaks to your heart, take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who may be growing through love right now, and subscribe for more psychology-based relationship wisdom. Now let's interact together. Growth in love is not always easy, but it is always meaningful. Comment to remember and affirm, "I grow through love even when it challenges me." Type this statement in the comments to claim your emotional growth, your self-awareness, and the deep connection that is shaping you into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Third sign, you understand each other without words. When two people are truly meant for each other, understanding moves faster than language and deeper than explanation. This is not romance talk. This is psychological alignment proven by lived experience and disciplined observation. You don't need words when your nervous systems already recognize each other. You don't ask how they feel because you already know. You sense the shift before the sentence forms. You feel the weight in your chest before the phone lights up. You think of them seconds before they reach out. This is not coincidence. This is emotional synchronization, a phenomenon seasoned men recognize after decades of trial and error, where two internal compasses quietly point in the same direction. As Carl Jung said, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. When alignment is real, silence carries information. Distance carries no authority. You may live separate lives in separate cities, with separate responsibilities, yet emotionally you meet in a place that cannot be mapped. That is why silence never feels like absence. That is why time apart does not weaken the bond. That is why logic fails to dissolve what the body already knows. Here is the hard-earned truth for modern life. When something great happens or something heavy lands on your shoulders, they are your first thought. Not by habit, but by instinct. Not by decision, but by reflex. Because the mind may negotiate, but the deeper system does not. Men who understand Old Stoic wisdom recognize this pattern well. Stoicism win is not about suppressing feeling. It is about mastering perception. And perception tells you when alignment is real. When two people share rhythm instead of noise. When their inner clocks tick together, even in different rooms. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, what stands in the way becomes the way. Distance, confusion, and uncertainty are not proof of failure. They are tests of depth. An iron mind learns to read them correctly. So when you hear yourself say, I deserve to move on, or I deserve something simpler, or this situation makes no sense, understand this clearly. That is the rational brain trying to restore comfort, not truth. Comfort seeks ease. Truth demands clarity, and clarity often arrives without words, through patterns, timing, and emotional resonance that refuses to fade. This is why men who cultivate an iron mind stop fighting what persists and start interpreting it. Persistence is data. Data deserves respect. In modern life filled with distractions, notifications, and surface-level connections, this kind of silent understanding is rare. And because it is rare, it is powerful. It cuts through noise. It simplifies decisions. It sharpens focus. It demands responsibility. When alignment is real, you do not play games. You do not chase drama. You do not seek constant reassurance. You act with steadiness. You communicate cleanly. You protect the bond through action, not talk. This is where Old Stoic wisdom meets modern psychology. Stoicism win is choosing the response that preserves dignity and direction, not impulse. Men who master this do not panic when silence appears. They do not collapse when distance stretches. They remain centered, observant, grounded. They trust patterns over promises. As the saying often attributed to Friedrich Nietzsche goes, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. When two people are aligned, that why is felt instantly and repeatedly, not explained endlessly. So the advice is simple and firm. Stop demanding proof through words. Start observing consistency through time. Stop chasing certainty through control. Start building strength through patience. Let your iron mind filter emotion without dismissing it. Let Old Stoic wisdom guide your reactions without freezing your heart. Recognize this truth. When understanding flows without speech, it is not fantasy. It is psychological fit. And fit does not beg. It endures. It adapts. It strengthens. In a world obsessed with speed, this kind of bond teaches mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of attention, mastery of life. Because when alignment is real, you do not force meaning. Meaning shows up on its own, again and again, steady, unmistakable, strong. Fourth sign, life keeps bringing you back together. When two people are truly meant for each other, life has a strange, almost poetic habit of circling them back together, and this fourth sign is the one that silences doubt, because it doesn't rely on promises, words, or plans, it relies on patterns. Pay attention. Notice how no matter how far apart you drift, how long the silence stretches, or how firmly you decide to move on, something keeps nudging your paths back into alignment. That is not coincidence. That is rhythm. You reconnect when you least expect it, not when you are searching, not when you are lonely, but when your guard is down and your mind is elsewhere. Be honest. You resume contact after months or even years without speaking, and the gap somehow feels smaller than the calendar says it should. Don't ignore how natural it feels. Don't rush to label it. Life simply places the moment in front of you and waits to see if you recognize it. You keep appearing in each other's lives in unexpected ways, through mutual friends, random messages, shared memories, or timing that feels almost mischievous. Even when you deliberately step away, even when you tell yourself you're done, Circumstances quietly shorten the distance, not aggressively, not dramatically, gently, naturally. That is how destiny works. It does not chase, it does not beg, it waits until both people are ready enough to notice. This is where psychology tricks often fall apart, because no strategy can manufacture this kind of return. You can't force timing. You can't engineer emotional gravity. You can only observe it. This pattern shows up repeatedly in female psychology and male experience alike, because deep connection operates beneath logic, beneath pride, beneath fear. Be still long enough and you'll see it. The reunion doesn't always look the same. Sometimes you come back as strangers, careful and curious, feeling like you're meeting someone familiar in a new skin. Sometimes you return as friends, testing the waters, pretending it's casual while sensing the undercurrent. Sometimes you meet again as transformed versions of yourselves, older, steadier, clearer, finally capable of holding what once felt too heavy. That is the quiet brilliance of how to fall in love when it's real. It doesn't demand perfection. It allows growth. Don't confuse distance with loss. Distance is often preparation. Life separates people not to punish them, but to refine them. And when the timing is right, when lessons have settled into wisdom, the pull resumes. That is why destiny never rushes. It understands patience better than we do. But make no mistake, it also never abandons what is genuine. What truly belongs to you does not disappear. It simply takes the long road back. Be alert to that truth. Be humble enough to accept it. Don't panic when separation happens. Don't cling when reconnection arrives. Let it unfold. This is not about chasing someone or waiting endlessly. This is about recognizing a recurring thread woven through your life with intention. Psychology tricks can teach attraction. Female psychology can explain emotional responses. How to fall in love can be studied and discussed, but none of them can replace this signal. Life itself keeps reopening the door. When that happens again and again, pay attention. You must, because patterns don't lie. Timing doesn't tease without reason, and what keeps returning is rarely accidental. If this message hit home, don't scroll past it, claim it. Drop a comment right now and write, "What's meant for me always finds its way back." Say it with confidence, mean it. Like this video, subscribe for more grounded psychology tricks and timeless insight. And remind yourself every day, destiny doesn't chase, it returns, only to those ready to recognize it. Fifth sign, conflict brings growth, not destruction. When two people are truly meant for each other, conflict does not tear them apart. It sharpens them. This is the fifth and most misunderstood sign of a lasting bond. Disagreement becomes a tool for growth, not a weapon for damage. Beneath every tense conversation, there is a shared intention to understand, to adjust, and to move forward together rather than to score points. Psychology confirms this again and again. Secure emotional attachment allows men and women to argue without fear, to speak honestly without walking on glass, and to return to calm with clarity instead of resentment. In relationships built to last, apologies are not performances. They are decisions. Lessons are not forgotten. They are integrated. Mistakes are not recycled. They are retired. Both people feel safe enough to tell the truth and strong enough to hear it. This is where Old Stoic wisdom steps in quietly, reminding us that pressure reveals character and friction, when handled with discipline, produces strength, not scars. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In modern life, this becomes a direct instruction for men. Stop fearing disagreement and start mastering it. A relationship without conflict is not peaceful. It is unfinished. A man with an iron mind understands this. Calm is not the absence of tension. Calm is the ability to stay centered while tension exists. Psychology calls this repair behavior, the ability to return to connection after rupture. Couples who practice it build trust that compounds over time. Trust that says, "We can face hard conversations and still remain solid." This is Stoicism win in real life, not theory, not quotes on a wall. Daily discipline in speech, timing, and restraint. Listening when ego wants to react. pausing when pride wants to push, choosing growth over momentary satisfaction. Modern life adds pressure, careers, finances, aging parents, changing bodies, shifting roles. These pressures will surface whether you like it or not. So the instruction is clear. Do not avoid the conversation, lead it. Do not suppress emotion, regulate it. Do not try to win, try to understand. Understanding builds alignment. Alignment builds peace. Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In that space, a man with an iron mind chooses patience, clarity, and purpose." Old Stoic wisdom teaches that obstacles are training grounds. Applied to relationships, conflict becomes a forge. It shapes trust. It sharpens communication. It reinforces commitment. This is why aligned couples do not fear hard talks. They respect them. They finish them with resolution. They move forward stronger. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. Conflict handled with discipline creates strength. Conflict handled with honesty creates trust. Conflict handled with purpose creates longevity. This is Stoicism win, quiet mastery, lived daily. In a world obsessed with comfort, choose capability. In a culture that avoids tension, choose leadership. When two people are truly meant for each other, conflict is not the end, it is refinement. And a man guided by old Stoic wisdom, armed with an iron mind, does not fear the storm. He uses it to build something unshakable. Sixth sign, you feel emotionally safe being your true self. With the right person, something rare happens. The armor comes off, the performance ends, you stop auditioning for approval, you speak plainly, you breathe easier. That is emotional safety, and it is not a luxury. It is a requirement. When two people are truly meant for each other, there is no pressure to impress, exaggerate, or hide the rough edges of life. You do not need to pretend you have it all figured out. You can admit fear, you can admit uncertainty, you can admit fatigue, and instead of distance, you are met with understanding. That is not chance. That is compatibility doing its job. Don't confuse emotional safety with comfort alone. Comfort can be temporary. Emotional safety is structural. It is built through consistent behavior over time. Be clear about this. When psychological research on attachment points to emotional safety as a core marker of deep compatibility, it is saying something very direct. When a man feels accepted as he is, trust grows without force, and intimacy expands without effort. You do not negotiate for it. You do not demand it. It appears because the environment allows it. That is the difference between surface-level connection and something real. Be honest with yourself. In modern life, men are trained to manage impressions, at work, in social circles, even at home. You're expected to be composed, capable, and in control. There is nothing wrong with strength, but when strength becomes a mask you can never remove, it becomes exhausting. With the right partner, that burden lifts. You can speak without calculating. You can pause without being judged. You can say, "I don't know," without losing respect. That is when a man begins to show true confidence, not the loud kind, the grounded kind, the kind associated with a high-value man who knows who he is and doesn't need to prove it every minute. Don't perform in your own relationship, that is the instruction. Performance kills connection. It turns intimacy into a transaction. Emotional safety does the opposite. It turns presence into progress. When you are emotionally safe, your nervous system relaxes, your communication sharpens, your listening improves. This is not theory. This is biology meeting psychology in real time. Studies show that when people feel safe being themselves, their bodies respond with lower stress and higher emotional regulation. That matters, especially as life gets more complex with age. Be clear about what this is not. Emotional safety does not mean dumping everything without restraint. It does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means being real without fear of rejection. It means knowing that honesty will not be punished. It means your partner is not keeping score, waiting for you to slip. That kind of environment allows masculine energy to settle into its most effective form. Calm, decisive, steady. This is the kind of presence that naturally attracts women, not through tactics, but through consistency. You must understand the contrast. In the wrong relationship, vulnerability feels risky. Words are weaponized later. Silence becomes strategy. In the right relationship, vulnerability feels productive. Conversations resolve instead of linger. Silence becomes rest. That is how you know you are building something sustainable. Emotional safety is not loud. It is quiet. It shows up in how disagreements end. It shows up in how mistakes are handled. It shows up in how both people recover. Don't underestimate the power of acceptance. When someone accepts you as you are, not as a project to fix, your confidence stabilizes. You stop chasing validation. You stop over-explaining. You start showing up fully. This is why emotional safety is deeply connected to leadership in life and relationships. A man who feels emotionally safe is not reactive. He is responsive. He chooses his words. He sets direction. That is high-value man behavior expressed naturally, not forced. Be mindful of modern pressures. Technology accelerates comparison. Social media rewards appearance over substance. Many relationships become performance spaces rather than places of rest. Emotional safety cuts through that noise. It allows two people to meet as they are, not as avatars. That authenticity is magnetic. It strengthens masculine energy because it aligns inner reality with outward action. No contradiction, no split. You must protect this environment once you find it. Emotional safety is built slowly and damaged quickly. Don't mock vulnerability. Don't dismiss concerns. Don't use honesty as leverage. Be precise with your words. Be reliable with your actions. That is how trust compounds. Over time, this creates a bond where both people grow stronger, not smaller, where ambition is supported, not threatened, where attraction deepens instead of fading. Remember this principle. Emotional safety is not about becoming less of a man. It is about becoming more of one. More self-aware, more composed, more intentional. This is what allows you to attract women who value depth over drama. This is what sustains desire beyond novelty. This is what turns connection into partnership. Don't chase intensity alone. Chase safety with depth. Be the man who can hold space without losing direction. Be the man whose presence lowers tension instead of raising it. That is the mark of masculine energy matured through experience. That is the quiet edge of a high-value man. And when two people are truly meant for each other, this kind of emotional safety is not negotiated. It is simply there, shaping trust, fueling intimacy, and making life lighter, clearer, and far more powerful. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, act. Drop a comment right now and write, "I am safe being my true self." Claim it, mean it. Like this video, subscribe for more grounded, real-world psychology, and remind yourself every day. Real connection begins the moment you stop performing and start showing up. Seventh sign, your values and life direction quietly align. When two people are truly meant for each other, the seventh sign shows up quietly, almost politely, and that is exactly why so many men miss it at first. Their values and life direction begin to align without force, without negotiation, without dramatic speeches. This is not about liking the same music or growing up in the same town. Don't confuse comfort with coincidence. Be clear. What matters here is deeper. It is how both of you define love when no one is watching. It is how you treat loyalty when it costs you something. It is how you imagine family, growth, responsibility, freedom, and the future when the room is silent. At first, your backgrounds may look different, even opposite. Your personalities may clash in small, harmless ways. That is fine. That is normal. But over time, something steady happens. Your decisions start pointing in the same direction. Your long-term choices begin to rhyme. You don't have to convince each other. You don't have to push. You simply notice that when life asks serious questions, both of you answer them with the same tone. Psychology calls this value congruence, and it matters more than charm, attraction, or clever lines. That is not a romantic idea. That is a proven one. It predicts long-term satisfaction far more reliably than chemistry alone, because chemistry can spark fast and fade faster, while aligned values create stability, trust, and peace. Don't chase intensity and call it destiny. Be wise enough to recognize alignment. That is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in relationships, especially for men who were taught to prioritize excitement over direction. Here is the truth you must hear. When values align, conflict changes shape. You still disagree, but you fight fair. You still struggle, but you pull in the same direction. You don't argue about the future because you're already walking toward a similar version of it. That is not accidental. That is meaningful. In female psychology, this alignment creates a deep sense of safety that words alone cannot provide. She may not always articulate it, but she feels it. She senses that you are building towards something compatible with her inner compass. That feeling is powerful. It nurtures trust. It sustains attraction over time. It answers the unspoken question of how to fall in love without losing yourself. Be careful here. Don't fake values to impress. Don't mirror opinions just to avoid tension. That never lasts. Real alignment reveals itself through behavior, not promises. It shows up in how you handle stress, how you talk about money, how you treat time, how you respond to failure, how you imagine aging, and how you define success beyond status. Over months and years, your lives begin to interlock naturally. Schedules adapt, priorities settle. Future plans stop sounding like negotiations and start sounding like shared intentions. That is when you know you're not just attracted but aligned. Psychology tricks can teach you how attraction starts, but value congruence explains why it lasts. Be attentive. Notice whether your relationship feels like constant steering or quiet movement forward. One drains you, the other strengthens you. When two people are meant for each other, they don't have to drag one another toward a future. They walk there together. That is the sign. That is the difference. And if you truly want to understand female psychology, if you truly want to learn how to fall in love in a way that brings peace instead of confusion, don't obsess over surface signals. Look for direction. Look for values. Look for the calm confidence that says, we are heading the same way. That alignment is rare. That alignment is powerful. And once you recognize it, you must respect it, protect it, and grow into it, because that is where lasting connection lives, far beyond charm, far beyond tricks, and far beyond the noise. Hello, my friend. If there is someone who keeps appearing in your thoughts, even when you don't try to think about them, if that invisible thread never truly disappears, if the connection teaches you, helps you grow, and transforms you into a better version of yourself, then calmly accept this clear truth. You are not imagining it. Some connections exist beyond logic and rational explanation. Psychology calls it deep emotional alignment, while life quietly arranges everything in its own perfect way. If two people are truly meant for each other, there is no need to force, chase, or hold on tightly. Life will create the right moment when both of you are truly ready. My sincere advice to you is this: while you wait, don't just wait for someone to love you. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself, calm enough, strong enough, and whole enough to receive real love. When you change, what truly belongs to you will naturally find its way to you. Trust this: when the timing is right, everything meant for you, without exception, will come to you. Thank you for taking the time to listen until the end. If these words resonated with your soul, please like and subscribe to Psychology Wisdom for more insights that reveal the hidden corners of the heart. Wishing you faith, peace, and clarity on your journey.